This video is going to be a Bond Craftor Casting Powder tutorial in our Eco Resin Flower Border Tray mold. Later on, I'll be mixing 250 grams of the powder with 75 grams of water. And there's our Eco Resin Flower Border Tray mold. It has a matte surface on the tops and the sides. For this, I'm going to be using Fool's Gold and Chunky Rose Gold Metallic Glitter by the Glitter Guy. And I found the chunkier the glitter, the better. It just shines profusely when you do this. Smaller glitter tends to get lost, and if you put glass in there, it creates really huge pockets. So I like the effect that this chunky glitter gives. And both of those are chunky mix glitter, so there are some small pieces in it. And there I'm just adding the glitter, no, just random pattern, making sure all the edges get covered. And I'm going to be adding some smaller glitter here. It didn't really need it, but since this was pink, there it is. It's Ballet Shoes Iridescent Glitter by Glitter Hippo, and that's a very ultra fine powder. It tends to be a little bluish in the finished product, which I didn't really need, but I figured since I had the rose gold, I'd put some of the baby or ballerina pink in there as well. So I'm just covering the face of the mold with that. And then I'd heard that iron oxide powder is what you should try to use with Eco Resin. I've tried the inks or dyes that they provide. I've tried mica powder, I've tried acrylic ink, and I find all of those that the colors disappear. But when you see what this does, this is iron oxide powder in ultramarine blue. I don't really like providing links to Amazon because they tend to go dead after a time, but I will put the link to this powder below. It comes in about 6 different colors, kind of basic colors like yellow, red, black, white, green, and this is the ultramarine blue. And I left this mixing part to show you how long it takes to mix this up. The directions say to mix the powder into the water, which I've done in the past, but because I'm using larger volumes of the powder, like the 250 grams, I've started putting the water into the powder instead. But what it does is it tends to clump up on the bottom, and you can feel it more so than see it, like it was ringing around the bottom. And another thing, I had just like a wooden craft stick here. It was too thin. It was almost like balsa wood, and it was bending under the pressure of trying to mix this casting powder. So it's better to use something that's plastic or a little bit sturdier. I think I do end up trading out this stick for it. But you can mix this for like 1 to 2 minutes. And Bond Craftor, I've tried 3 or 4 different kinds of these eco resins. Bond Craftor is on the thinner side, so it seems like you have a little bit more of a working time. It doesn't start setting up on you. And I did try another little pour with some acrylic paint, liquid paint, and that worked equally as well. But there's the powder, and I used 2 heaping scoops of this to start off with. It's not mica powder, it's iron oxide powder. I think they use this, or this is made to color concrete. So I figured it might work for this. And it is keeping the color, and as you'll see in the finished piece, the other pieces that I've done with these eco resins, whether it's Resincrete or this casting powder by Bond Craftor, the colors tend to get lighter as it cures, where this pretty much stayed true to color. And then I'm adding another scoop. So 3 heaping scoops to 250 grams. And it did start thickening up a little bit, but like I said, Bond Craftor is a little bit thinner to begin with, so it didn't seem to affect it that much. Also, we have a 20% off coupon with Bond Craftor now. They were nice enough to send us this more crafting casting powder to try out. So you can use Crystal20 on their website for 20% off any purchase. And that's good for a while, I guess, until they say it isn't anymore. But thanks to Bond Craftor for sending us some more of this casting powder to try out. So there I'm finally getting it mixed. As you see, I transferred over to the plastic spoon to get that going. And it's a nice blue color. Not as deep as the color in the package, but it is a purplish blue color. And there I'm just pouring it into the mold. And with casting powder, you have to tap the edges to try and get rid of air bubbles. So there I am just doing that. And then I took a toothpick. Some bubbles did come up, so I just went around the outside of the mold and poked some holes that were right in the center, because you really can't torch this. It doesn't do anything if you do torch it. And what I found, it cures up in like 30 minutes. Usually these eco resins are very cold when they cure, but this was decidedly warm. Same as the small piece I did with the acrylic paint. It was very warm when it cured, but eventually when it fully cured, it did turn cold again. But see how that chunky glitter just sparkles? And then we have the border that I'm going to be filling with some glass. And as usual, I'm using my Deco Art Duraclear Gloss Varnish and some Ballerina Pink Reflective Crushed Glass. We saw the glass in our website, or on our website. And there I'm just putting a little bit of the varnish on the bottom so the glass can stick to it on the bottom. And you cannot use the matte varnish. The matte varnish does not try doing this. It has to be the gloss varnish. And I've done a few of these trays and some of my resin trays with it. When you put the gloss varnish on top, it dries clear. It's a total like bluish white liquid when you put it on, but it dries clear. You could put resin on the glass, but then the resin covers the glass and you don't get the real sparkly effect. So that's why I've used this gloss varnish for the longest time. And especially on these walls. Don't you love how my hand's up there like trying to protect the glass from coming off on the side? I don't know what I was doing. And I didn't feel the need to wear gloves. And I did not cut myself either. The glass isn't that sharp as long as you're not poking down on it. And there it's sped up a little bit, just showing me get the glass in the little edges. I did spend a little bit of time off camera. Because this glass has white backing on it, I wanted to make sure none of that white backing was sitting up when I put the varnish on the top part. And there I just cut the edge off a pipette, and I'm putting the varnish on the top of the glass. And it looks very liquidy and very white, but trust me, it dries totally clear and cements those things, cements the glass in that border. It's such a great way to add dimension to a finished product, being able to put the glass. You could put glitter on the edge. You could put a different mica color, mica powder color. You can fill it with anything you want. You could fill it with candy if you wanted to, but you can't eat it. And there I'm just using a little toothpick to set the glass down in the edges. And if you find after it's dried, a couple pieces fall out, you can just put more varnish on. But isn't that finished result glorious? Look at all that sparkle and shine. The chunky glitter is sparkling on top, and the reflective glass is giving sparkle on the borders.